You play your division 8 times a year. How are we feeling about that?
Well, it's obviously the best plan in place for the NHL just to, avoid, any risk with COVID. And as you said, I think in the East, it makes a lot of sense in terms of who the different teams are. It's going to make for some good rivalry by the end of it. I think by the time you get to April and May, I think all these teams are going to hate each other's guts, which is going to make for a pretty riveting first 2 rounds of the playoffs. From the Bruins' perspective, though, it's kind of a tough division to draw in. So I think at first glance, you kind of look at some of those teams and you go, "Oh shit!" Like you've got 3 or 4 teams that are have been powerhouses in the East for years now, who are still very good. You have a team like the Rangers, who is definitely on the come up with the amount of talent they have, the amount of young players they have that you expect would take the next step forward this year. So when you kind of weigh that against the Bruins, who again still have a very talented roster, but also have probably more question marks than you expect from a Bruins team going into a season, I think there's clearly that cause for concern in terms of is this a team that's going to easily secure a top 4 spot in this new division? I still think that other than maybe Philly, I think the Bruins are probably the best overall team, I want to say. I think, there's all those other teams are great and are going to be a tough fight. And even though I think maybe the Bruins maybe finish in the top 2, I still think you're going to have 4 or even 5 teams all kind of crowded near the top once we get to the end of the season. It's just, I think when you view the Bruins, I still think they have the best goalie core amongst that whole group. I mean, we can go kind of team by team if you want to about who stacks up. But, even look at like Washington, I think people are, you view the Capitals as being kind of the bane of the Bruins' existence, right? But Braden Holtby's not there anymore, which granted, he wasn't really even like a starting level goalie last year. Like he was straight up, like he was flat out bad last year.
He was horrible. He was bad.
Terrible. But, the fact that he's gone, maybe that tilts the scales a little bit in terms of how the Bruins just can't seem to have Washington's number. That could play a factor into it. The fact that Henrik Lundqvist isn't going to play for the Capitals this year, which is a bad break for both him and the team. So it's going to be a lot of, reps for a guy like Samsonov, who's very, very young. Pittsburgh, they've still, I don't think you can count on a team like that when you have Crosby and Malkin. They've got Jake Gensel be back healthy, but you're relying on a guy now in Jari who started out the year very, very good last year. I think he was even an all-star because he was so hot to start the season, and then I think he just completely tailed off down the stretch. I think he had like a 901 save percentage the last 2 months of the year.
Pittsburgh loves these young goalies who come in out of nowhere and basically play for like 2 or 3 years, play really well, and then just like completely fall off the map.
Right. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe he's the new Matt Murray and they just get this young guy who they just roll with him and it does well. But you also run the risk of having a guy who runs out of steam in a compressed season like this with Jari. So, I think Philly is a team you look at. They seem to be on the come up. They already are a very good team. They should keep on getting better as guys like Provorov and Konechny and the goalie from Philly, who I won't say his name because it.
Say it.
Carter Hart.
Carter Hart.
Yes. No, I have a brogue instead. I switched one out for another.
Carter Hart.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's a team that's going to be loaded in terms of being maybe the primary roadblock to the Bruins, but you kind of look at Boston's road, and again, we could revisit this in February, and they could be in 5th place, and Crosby's vintage Crosby, and the Capitals still have a great veteran core, and they're still playing very well with the guy like Samsonov in net. But I don't think it's going to be a situation where the Bruins are viewed as maybe underdogs in this division. I mean, they're still got a very, very talented roster that should get better as the year goes on and guys like Pastrnak comes back. So I still think they're probably going to be a top 2 team in the East, but I still think the competition is going to be pretty close throughout the year.
It's going to be close, but I think the Bruins are favored to win or come in second in this division. A wise man once said history affects perception, and that wise man was me. I just made that up and said it.
Nice.
People probably said it before, but I'm saying it now. You look at this. You look at the teams. as you mentioned, Pittsburgh, Washington, 2 Eastern Conference powerhouses the past, decade, really. Washington's had the Bruins number for what feels like forever. Pittsburgh's always been a tough out, except in 2013. The rest of the division, I mean, Philly obviously is on the rise right now. They're very good. But you look at the Pittsburgh and Washington, which I think is causing people the most stress. They're both on the come down. They're not – I don't see them as teams that are emerging. They're still going to be tough outs. They're not going to be easy, but I don't think they are. If this was 2015 and this was your division, you would be scared out of your mind.
Oh, yeah.
You'd have the Rangers, you'd have the Washington, you'd have the Capitals, you'd have the Penguins. I think this is different, though, because this is now, and those teams don't, or they shouldn't scare you, at least, as much as they, have in the past. But to me, as you said, I think the main competition will be Philly. That's the team that I think we're all looking at. That's the team we expect the Bruins to have the toughest time with. I would also circle the Rangers. Again, they're on the come up. They're a team that has a lot of good young talent. You're going to see Lafreniere 8 times this year, which will be really fun to see. By the way, that's going to be a blast to watch him as much as we'll get to see him. And the other team is the Islanders. They're always in it. They always find a way. They're annoying. They're pesky. They're always there. They find a way. They're consistently boring, but they consistently kind of win. So that could be another team.
People always forget that they were in the Eastern Conference Final. I had to look back at this past. It feels like this whole year has been a blur. I look back and think, oh yeah, it was the Islanders and going up against Tampa in that series. So again, they're not riveting to watch really, but the results kind of speak for themselves, right?
The results speak for themselves. So when I look at this, I see a division that is good. Going to be tough competition. There's the easy teams will be New Jersey. Buffalo, there's a chance that they get hot at some point, but I just don't see it with the rest of that roster outside of Hall and Eichel, and like maybe Deline. But that's a team that I find kind of easy. The rest will be kind of tougher. I think the Bruins are favored to be 1 or 2. I think if you're the Capitals, Penguins, Rangers, and Islanders, you're fighting for those last 2 spots. So I think it's going to be a 4-team battle for those 3 and 4 spots. So competition-wise, I mean, it's funny, you look at it. Is this easier than the Atlantic Division, or is this harder? I think it's easier because you don't have the Lightning, and you don't also have the Maple Leafs who, we can make jokes about them all the time. At some point, they're going to have to, overcome them at some point.
I think if you're the Bruins, you're still happy you don't have to play them, going through this year. I mean, they're still, regardless of how much the Bruins have had that number in the playoffs, it's still always a tough out, and they're still a team that you expect is going to still get, better and better as the year goes on.